You know how much I love the Darling Divas stamp collection by Debbie Corbari, and the newest Divas are no exception. Today on Stamp TV, I want to show you a fun little card using the new Impressed Diva stamp set, some Copic markers, and some bright pattern paper. Let me show you the tools and products you need to make this card. First, I have the Impressed Diva, and you can see how beautifully cut this stamp is. It's closely cut just like this, and you pull it out of the package, peel off the backing, and it's ready to stick to your acrylic block. Then I'm going to use one of the greetings from that mini set, and this one is the "Thanks for helping me iron it out" greeting. Then I'm going to use some Memento Tuxedo Black ink along with some various Copic markers. The Copic markers that I'm going to use are R17, which is lipstick orange. This one is R20, which is blush. E55, which is light camel. YR15, pumpkin yellow. G82, spring dim green. And E00, which is skin white. Then I'm going to use a couple of dies, and these dies are by Spellbinders. This is the Spellbinders Standard Ovals dies and the Scalloped Ovals dies. I have a little bit of Gina K Designs Black Onyx Gingham ribbon, and a bow easy, and a glue dot, and that's how I'm going to adhere the bow once I make it for you, and a pair of scissors to cut that bow. Then I have some cardstock and pattern paper. And the pattern paper that I'm using is from the Gina K Designs Spring Parade collection. I just can't get enough of this collection. I use it all the time. I don't care. I'll be using it in the middle of winter. I think it's bright and fun and always cheers up whoever receives your cards. And I'm going to use some black onyx cardstock, some white cardstock, and I have a tomato soup card base here. And along with that, I'm going to use some mono-adhesive tape. So to begin, I'm going to start with the Impressed Diva, and I'm going to ink her up with a little bit of Memento Tuxedo Black ink. Now, some of you have great results using the Gina K Designs black ink with Copic markers, and I suggest that you go ahead and use that. But some of you prefer the Memento Tuxedo Black ink, so I'm using that today in my demo. Now I want to make sure that I stamp this with enough room to get that die around that image, so you can see how crisp and clean that image stamps, and I've got plenty of room to cut it out with the die. Now the other little panel here that I have is this little piece of white cardstock, and I'm going to stamp the greeting on this. So I'm going to ink that up, and I'm going to stamp that right here, right along the edge. There we go. Thanks for helping me iron it out. Boy, I could send this card to a lot of my friends. Isn't it nice to have great, helpful friends? Okay, so the next step is to color this diva, and I'm going to start with the pumpkin yellow. That's the YR15, and I'm going to give her a striped shirt. So I'm going to start the second stripe down, coloring the pumpkin yellow. And again, I'm not doing any fancy shading or anything like that. I'm just coloring straight ahead. I love using Copic markers. Of course, there's fantastic shading techniques that you can do. I'm also going to color her headband here. There's fantastic shading techniques that you can do, but if you just want bright, vibrant, solid color, these markers are great for that as well. Now the R17, the lipstick orange, that does look really good with our red hot cardstock, but it also looks great with the tomato soup. So I'm going to add that in here and do the in-between stripes. Catch your little sleeve there. And you can see the sketch markers have this nice pointed tip on the end of the brush, so it's pretty easy to do some detail work. And because these divas are little, it does make it nice to have that tip on the end of a marker. Now I'm going to color her skirt that solid color lipstick orange. And we want to get down here at the bottom. Make sure you don't color that part in because that's part of what she's ironing. Sometimes before things are colored in, you have to kind of look at it like a puzzle. Like, now, is that part of her dress or is that part of what she's ironing? I'm going to give her some red shoes here and some red lips. There we go. You know what? I think I'm going to make the iron red as well. Why not? Everywhere I go now, I see these bright, fun-colored appliances, blenders and mixers and irons, and I just have my plain old silver one that I've had forever. So I'll get my fun-colored appliances by coloring them here on my Divas. All right, so there we go. And I think I'll go back to that pumpkin yellow again, the YR15, and color the little top of that iron. Okay, now I'm going to make the little thing that she's ironing there, the little piece of fabric, this spring dim green, and that is the G82. And I've chosen this color. A lot of you ask me how I decide what colors to color things. I've chosen this color based on the colors that are in the pattern paper. So I want to tie that all in together. And next, I'm going to color her hair. I'm going to use the E55, the light camel. So she's got kind of a light brown hair. And you can see I have just a plethora of different styles of Copic markers here. I started originally with the Chow markers, and then I started adding colors in the sketch. And then I picked up some of the originals because I liked that fine point. So I have all different ones in my collection, and the good thing about Copic markers is the ink is the same, so you can mix and match. Doesn't matter what kind of pen body it has, the ink is the same. So there, I've colored the ironing board and her hair to match. Now I'm going to add a little bit of blush to her cheeks, and I'm going to use the blush R20 and just add a little circle on each of her cheeks there. A little bit of blush. And then I'm going to color the rest of her skin using the E00, the skin white. Copic makes so many great skin colors to choose from, so you can try a whole bunch of different ones and find which one works best for you. This is a very, very pale color. It looks nice on this Diva as she's ironing away. Okay. Now I want to color in this greeting too. I want to pull some of those colors in. So I'm going to pick up that YR15, the pumpkin yellow, and I'm going to color the inside of this little label to make that stand out. And then I'm going to grab the lipstick orange again, the R17, and color the little ends of that label. And that just gives the greeting a little bit of zip. And it draws your eye down there and coordinates everything together, which I love. So this little piece is going to get mounted onto this piece of black onyx. It's going to have a little layer going around, but it's going to actually not have a layer on that one side, which you'll see in a second why I did that. So there we go. Let's It's not exactly straight. Let me straighten that out a little bit. There we go. So it doesn't really have a layer on this side, but it has a little border, or I should say it doesn't have a border on this side, just a border around those three sides. And you'll see why when I pull the card together. Okay, so the next step is to get the Cuttlebug out, and I'm going to cut out this Diva using one of those Spellbinders dies. So I have an A plate and a B plate. And then I'm going to add the Diva on top, and using that oval, I'm going to line that up there and get that into position. And then I'm going to put the C plate on top and cut. And I'm going to also emboss. So there's that nice little embossed edge around the white part. So I'm just going to flip it over. Make sure it stays inside that oval. There we go. And then I'm going to lay the mat on top. Make sure that's right in there. So I'm going to put the mat on top. And then another B plate and a piece of chipboard. And not every Cuttlebug needs the chipboard. It really depends on how yours is calibrated. So try it without it first, see what happens. And if you're not getting a deep enough impression, then you can always go back and add a piece of chipboard or some cardstock just to thicken it up a little bit. And you can see that little edge going around there. That's the embossed edge that I'm talking about. So we're going to cut one more piece. We're going to cut a piece of black. And we're going to use the scalloped oval for that. And I like to cut kind of close to the edge there so I can use this for something else. So I have an A and a B plate, my cardstock and my die with the blade down, and then on top the C plate. And there is my scalloped oval. So now it's time to assemble this card. So I'm going to grab that tomato soup card base because that's going to go on the bottom. And then I'm going to adhere this piece of pattern paper from the Spring Parade collection onto a piece of black onyx paper. And that will give a nice little border going around the perimeter. I love using black, onyx, or dark chocolate, or navy to give a dark border going around. I think it really makes the pattern paper, all the colors just pop out. And that piece is going to go on top there. But I'm going to first take this little strip and layer it together with this strip of black onyx. This one's a little trickier to do when you're not standing up, but I think we can do it. There we go. And then this piece is going to go on top. But before I adhere that down, let me move this out of the way so you can see what I'm going to do. This little piece, I want to make sure that this little piece can butt up against it. And you see there is the additional border that was missing from that piece. So I want to lay them out so that there's kind of an even space on either side, this side and this side. Once I have it into position, then I can kind of eyeball it and know where I need that to be. So I'll add a little bit of tape to this one and place that onto my card like that. And then this one will go right there. And again, with the mono adhesive, you've got some wiggle room, so if it doesn't look perfect to you, you can pick it up and change it. So I think I like it better moved over just a little bit, so I'm going to pull this strip off and move the strip over. I kind of like it where there's an even border on both sides here, so there we go. And now this is ready to be adhered onto that tomato soup card base. go. And next up, we need to adhere the Diva onto her scalloped oval. Get that positioned well. There we go. And then that panel is going to go right here, like that. And you'll notice that there's a little bit of awkward white space. And I left that there on purpose. Let me pick that up and move that a bit. There we go. Okay. So there we go. It's a little bit of awkward white space right here, but I did that on purpose because I wanted to add a little bow. So I'm going to use, let's see, my sample. I think I'm going to use this particular one, and each one of these is a different width. So I want something just a little bit bigger. And I'm going to start by taking this piece of black gingham ribbon, and I'm going to wrap it around once and then wrap it around a second time, like that. And then I'm going to cut some of this excess off so I don't have so much ribbon here to work with. Now this piece is going to feed into this hole in the center here, this little hole. And then I'm going to pull it through and then up, and I'm going to tuck it through here. So I could have left a little bit more of a tail, but this will work fine. I'll just struggle a little to sneak it under there. Okay. And then I'm going to pull up on that, and you can see I've got two loops, and you can straighten out the loops on the back here once you've got them nice and tight. And then I'm going to trim them right while it's still on the bow easy. So there's one, and trim this other side. There. Okay. So there's my little bow. Now I'm going to pull that off. You can see I've got a double looped bow, so I could spread those out a little bit. And I think that will look nice right at the bottom here. Now, if that little tail goes too close to your greeting, you can trim those tails off a little bit more, which I will do. And the best way to stick the Bow Easy onto, or the Bow Easy bow onto your card is with a glue dot. So I have some of these little glue dots here. And you just pop that onto your bow and adhere it exactly where you want it. And then you can spread the bow out and fix it exactly the way you want. So there is my finished card project. The Darling Diva collection contains something for every diva on your card making list. And because they're mini stamp sets, you can have lots of divas close at hand.